Good morning, everybody. We still have a few people logging in, so we're going to give them a minute or two to get settled, and then we'll get underway. For a minute or two. So I think we're ready to go. We appreciate everybody joining today's webinar. Before we do jump in, I just wanted to do a couple housekeeping items. This is being recorded, so in the event that you get such value out of it the first time that you want to listen to it a second time, you'll have the opportunity to do that. And for those that were unable to attend live, of course, this is something they can go back and watch after the fact. So we invite comments and questions throughout. If there are any questions, feel free to use the QA function within here. If you think of something at any point in time, throw it in there. There's the opportunity to just type it in, and we'll have a discussion portion at the tail end that will allow for us to answer a set of those questions that we have the opportunity to get to. So yeah, excited about today, and again, welcome to everybody, and thanks for joining us. I'm Paul Smith. I'm the Executive Vice President of Sales at Salient Systems, and I'm excited to co-present with my colleague Jonathan DuPont from AMAG Technology. Today, we're going to walk through how our companies deliver integrated compliance ready security solutions for modern data center environments. And I think it's a really timely topic. We're solving real world problems, and we're doing so around video access, identity management, and we're focused on maintaining audit readiness for our customers. We're excited to share how our Salient and AMAG technology are working together to help data centers tackle these evolving challenges. But this isn't just a product showcase. I think it's a conversation about how we're actively taking steps to resolve real world organizational issues and maintain regulatory expectations, reduce complexity, and increase resilience. So really excited. I've already introduced myself, but I've been hogging the microphone here. So JD, I don't know if you want to give us a little bit about your background and the role you play with AMAG as a starting point.
I appreciate it, Paul. I was going to let you keep going for the whole time if you wanted to.
Thanks.
But good morning and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jonathan DuPont, or JD. I'm the Senior Director of North American Field Sales for AMAG Technology. Been with AMAG for a little over 5.5 years in a variety of roles, and have worked with a ton of customers across the board, including a lot in the data center vertical. So really excited for this conversation that we're having today that I think Paul teed up perfectly around compliance, audits, and how technology can help drive those organizations forward. So really looking forward to getting into things today. Really looking forward to talking about the AMAG and Salient partnership, because some things in life just go together, peanut butter and jelly. Me being delusional about my teams at the start of a sports season in AMAG and Salient, just things that go together well. So really excited to be here.
Yeah, appreciate that. That was well said. And I introduced myself, but I run our global sales efforts, and much the same as JD, I've had the chance to sit and occupy different roles with Salient, and it's really given me an interesting vantage point to how organizations are dealing with some of the challenges that we're going to hit on today. So I think it'll be a really good conversation, and it'll be full of usable information throughout. So, specifically, you mentioned the peanut butter and jelly, the Salient and AMAG of it all, and I do think that our technologies and our companies combine to provide a unique kind of value proposition to the market. I think we deliver truly integrated access and video management capabilities, and I think if I'm focusing specifically on the Salient side, because that's kind of my area of expertise, what I would point out is Salient is an open platform provider. And that's critical because it allows for integrations and for those integrated systems to natively occur. We've got a really deep and robust integration with AMAG and specifically with the Symmetry Access Control platform. But we have a wide variety of partnerships. We've got integrations with intrusion systems, with analytic providers, and we have a laundry list of camera partners and sensors that we integrate with. And that's critical because irrespective of whether you as an end user or you as an integrator are working with a customer that has a single edge site or several hundred sites, it's imperative to have technology and a technology stack that's going to allow you to tie in every physical security event possible, whether that's a badge swipe, door prop, and to tie it directly to corresponding video. I think the power of that is ease of investigation, but it also leads to compliance, real-time decision making, and much more streamlined and effective ways of accomplishing all of those things. So it's not just having good systems, it's figuring out how these systems work together to deliver the sort of tools and capabilities and audit checks that you need to with physical security. I don't know if you want to touch a little bit on kind of the AMAG side of the house, Jonathan.
Yeah, so that was really well said, Paul, and appreciate you teeing that up. So here at AMAG, for those that don't know us, we do a lot, and we'll dive into a lot of what we do today. The access control side is what we're known for. But as you look at supporting compliance and audits across data centers, you see visitor and identity management popping up. You see the need for those integrated systems that Paul talked about, like intrusion, your access and video having a true bi-directional integration like AMAG and Salient have together to ease investigations, to make sure that you have all of the information you need for an audit at any given time, and to make sure that you're keeping your people, property, and assets secure at all times. And so a unified ecosystem like what Salient and AMAG can provide is a huge time saver, a huge cost saver, and a huge asset for anybody that's got compliance standards they have to meet. And I think that takes us really nicely into that next slide, that next talking point about the compliance that data centers are up against. So as we look at the role of security in data centers, a lot of security systems, and especially what we do here at AMAG and Salient, are designed to do three things. They're designed to reduce risk, mitigate cost, and increase compliance. And so compliance is a huge driving factor within data centers. Regulatory compliance is a non-negotiable item, and it can vary based on the data center that you're working with or working in, and who the customers are in that data center. So some of the common standards you're going to hear out there are SOC 2 compliance, ISO 27001, HIPAA, PCI DSS for payment systems. And with those standards, each one has a different way that the security systems have to interact to help maintain and meet compliance. And so if you look at ISO 27001, that's a standard where you're establishing security or information security management and requirements for managing that sensitive company information, whether it's cardholders or the information physically being stored in that data center. You need to be compliant to make sure that you're not opening yourself up to fines, downtime, reputational damage, or risk. Because as soon as you find yourself slipping out of compliance, not meeting compliance for your customers, not only are you going to face fines ranging from thousands to millions of dollars, but you're also going to experience downtime of your systems as a result because you're not going to be able to store that sensitive information. You're going to have reputational damage, potentially lose multiple customers as a result of it. And so the compliance side really guides the security systems within data centers. And that's why AMAG and Salient are so powerful within it. And so as we look at some of the demands that lead to compliance being met, you got to start with identity management. Identity management is something that's really come into the forefront over the past several years. It was a manual process for a while, and now you have to ensure only the right people have access to sensitive areas, to certain areas, and making sure that that's done in a automated fashion so that you can ensure you're not opening yourself up to any compliance risks with who has access to what. The same thing happens with your visitors. Data centers are a complex environment. Customers are constantly coming and going from those environments. And so you need to know who was on site, when they were on site, why they were on site, and have a full audit trail of that information to maintain compliance. And then as we get over to the video side of compliance, there's strict standards around that. I know Paul's going to talk about a lot of the tools that Salient has in place today for meeting compliance with long-term storage, federation, storage pools, things of that nature. Hope I didn't steal your thunder there, Paul. I just threw out the buzzwords that I know. But video is a huge part of the compliance side of data centers. And then as you look at integrated tools, having a unified platform, that centralized ecosystem where you can manage your video, your access control, your identity management, your visitor management, your intrusion, your audio solutions, that's going to be what really brings everything together. Every system working in harmony, that single pane of glass or one solution to be able to work through to make sure you don't have any gaps in your compliance, in your security system, and you're not opening yourself up to unnecessary risk. So as we talk about the different solutions today, compliance is going to be a huge piece of what we're talking about because it's the critical thing that security helps meet within data centers. And if we want to go ahead and go to the next slide here, I'll talk a little bit more about what AMAG can do there specifically. So for those of you that aren't familiar with AMAG, we've been around for 54 years and we're traditionally known as an access control company. While access control is our bread and butter or our core, if you will, we do a whole lot more than that to help mitigate risk, increase compliance, and do so at the lowest total cost of ownership. So while access control is still that bread and butter for us, we look to other solutions as part of the ecosystem like Symmetry Complete View with our good friends over at Salient. Symmetry Guest is our visitor management. Symmetry Connect is our physical identity and access management system. And Symmetry Control Room is our command and control center. We take a truly comprehensive and holistic ecosystem approach to help make sure you meet those compliance standards we talked about, that you're not opening yourself up to unnecessary risk, to fines, to downtime, or that reputational damage, because these systems really work together to ensure that coverage, that there are no gaps. And managing from a single platform really helps you to reduce what you're up against as far as the challenges that you get running a security team in a data center or any sort of customer. Because as you get more people involved, you get more systems involved, you get more customers in the data center, a lot more complexity starts to build in because everybody has unique needs. So being able to manage those needs centrally, have vision to all of them at one time is paramount to the success of an organization like a data center. The next thing that you have to be able to do is you've got to be able to scale. Salient can scale from one camera to unlimited cameras. AMAG can scale from one reader to unlimited readers. And you've got to be able to grow to accommodate the changes and challenges within the data center ecosystem. So it may start as one small facility and expand to over 80 globally, for example. And you need a system that's going to be able to grow with you at your pace, license by license on the camera side, 8-reader license by 8-reader license on the access side, identity by identity on the identity management side, because every time that you bring a new site online, you bring a new customer in, or you bring new identities into the fold, you're met with challenges you didn't have before. And so it's important to make sure your unified ecosystem is helping you to mitigate that risk, increase that compliance every step of the way as you grow at your pace. And then another challenge that data centers are up against today, and I think we can say it for every customer, is operational efficiency is driving everything today. Organizations are getting leaner. And so as a result, we need our systems to do more. For example, in the chat right now, I'm seeing a lot of AI note takers. Great example of how technology is helping people do more, but your security system should do the same for you. Your video should be easy to do live search and export so that you can quickly do investigations and audits. Identity management helps you do those audits seamlessly, and it takes the amount of time down from months to minutes. Your access control and reporting should be the same way. And so you should look for your security ecosystem to truly be an ecosystem with all of your platforms integrated together to improve efficiency. So I think Paul's ready for me to wrap this up for sure. I've been rambling on and I'll do it all day about what AMAG does. But as you look at the AMAG ecosystem alongside Salient, it's the perfect fit for data center customers.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think it makes sense that you would be the one to start the conversation because our piece, the video piece, is really one aspect of that total ecosystem that AMAG has, and it's nice to slot in and work with a company that's really kind of looked at the entire spectrum of requirements and systems that are necessary, and to be chosen as kind of the video platform that helps accomplish the sort of things that we're talking about today for our customers. So I'll talk about a couple of features within the video piece, but maybe get a little more focused on the key technology just because these are features that are kind of base requirements if you're going to operate in the data center space. Video retention, it's critical. And whether that is a mandate for 90 days of retention, 180 days of retention, or longer, depending on the industry that we're talking about or the client that we're talking about, Salient has to have a way to address this, and we do. We address it with an always-on feature and infrastructure that includes automatic recording failover in the event that you have some sort of catastrophic event that leads to a hard drive or a server going down. If a server fails, we've got a standby unit that's capable of inheriting and immediately ingesting all the information that's required and taking over as the primary recording device. So the short version of that is video is never lost, right? That's key. They were continuous recording with automatic failover. It ensures that even if a recording server goes down, not only is the standby unit picking up the load, it does so without any sort of data loss, and that's critical for meeting those audit requirements. And then our storage pool technology is another piece that I would point to. And I am just hitting on all those buzzwords that you threw out, but hopefully diving into a little bit more depth. This allows for all the recorded video, whether from the primary system, the failover system, to remain instantly accessible. We're not kind of in a wait and see type of state for what was there on the original recording server. Can I go back and access that data? It's accessible, and that's essential for, again, the compliance audits, incident reviews at the local level, or customer SLA validation. So failover and storage pools are a critical aspect of it, and there's a lot of nuance that's built into these. You start out sizing a server and a system to be able to retain video for the 90 or 180 days that is required, but there has to be constant checkpoints to validate that that's actually occurring. And more importantly than that, a system that is capable of analyzing and seeing if we're on track to actually meet those requirements. That's a base part of the Salient package. You can configure individual cameras or groups of cameras to retain video for a set amount of time. But how do I make sure that some sort of camera restart or something didn't shift the frame rate, and now instead of 90 days, I'm going to come in at 87? Salient has a proactive way of analyzing the rolling rate of video recordings to determine if you're actually going to meet that threshold or not. So it's very generic to say that we have to hold video for this amount of time, but the way that it's accomplished, it's got to be automatic and it's got to be easy, and there has to be a way to be proactive in that effort. I'm going to jump over and talk a little bit about our federation feature as well. because this is I think, especially in instances where data centers are growing, acquisitions are occurring, and the size of the original implementation is scaling tremendously. Jonathan talked about the need to have a system that can scale. Federation is a way that we maintain the ability to do the day-to-day functions locally, but to have an enterprise-wide system and the ability to push down key items to the totality of it. So Federation for us it's got to be one of the most strategic capabilities that we have within our platform for multi-site operators. And it allows, again, for operating multiple data center locations as one unified ecosystem. Critical, right? And headquarters can push policies, monitor server health, manage retention compliance, kind of do all the things that you would need to do at a corporate level, but still allow for those local teams to manage their system, have flexibility, have the ability and tools and authority to respond to incidents in real time. So it really, I would say Federation is really all about balance, centralized control with localized execution. And it's what allows organizations to again, scale securely, whether they're onboarding a new facility, responding to an audit, handling an incident. Really, Federation, the result of it is a stronger security posture. It's simplified operations, and it's transparency and readiness for audits across every site at all times. So those are kind of the two elements that I would point to that have really lent themselves to this industry specifically. And I'll turn it back over to JD to talk a little bit more.
So that was a fantastic overview of the video side. Again, I love throwing out those buzzwords because I know you'll just take them and run. But as we look at kind of what we've talked about so far today, the compliance side, the unified ecosystem, and the power of the AMAG and Salient solutions, I think it's important to discuss what that actually means from a customer perspective. And so we've got a couple of case studies or use cases that we want to dive into today. And the first is a global security standardization for a leading data center provider. So with this, we're going to start with the challenges that they faced, move on to the solutions that they implemented and the results that they saw. And so those challenges are along the lines of mitigating risk, increasing compliance, and doing so at the lowest total cost of ownership. So this data center needed a unified solution for access and video across the globe. They were seeing a lot of downtime, or not downtime, but a lot of duplicated efforts, a lot of manual processes because they had disparate platforms that required them to do completely separate investigations and audits for the exact same event because the systems weren't integrated, they weren't unified, and it created a lot of duplicate work. They also wanted to improve their customer experience while enhancing their security. And that's something that traditionally is hard to do because the more people that you invite into your building, the more access you give them to your building, and the more seamless that access feels, generally, the more risk you're going to open yourself up to. And so they really had to find a way to keep that secure environment, make sure that they weren't violating any of the compliance regulations they were up against, but ensuring that the customers coming into the data center had a positive experience. And then the third thing that they were really struggling with was manual processes that needed automation. Doing those disparate investigations, those disparate audits, those manual processes for cardholder enrollment took a lot of time and a lot of resources, and it put extra work on people's plates and pulled them away from what they really needed to be doing on a daily basis. And so what they really needed was an integrated technology stack through a unified solution to address all of these needs. So what they did is they went ahead and standardized on Symmetry Access Control, Symmetry Control Room, and Salient Complete View. In doing so, they got a true bidirectional integration where they could view access alarms and events in the video platform. They could view video events in the access control platform, and they had the control room command and control software to manage every single alarm that came in, respond to every single alarm that came in, and do so in an efficient manner. They also set a global standard with Zenatel for their audio solutions. We've talked a lot about video today, a lot about access control. Audio is the third leg of that stool because you need to be able to control who gets in and out. You need to be able to see who gets in and out, but you also need to be able to hear them a lot of times. And that's something that a lot of folks forget. And then they also deployed biometric readers for enhanced verification and Symmetry Connect for increased audit compliance and access regulation. And so by deploying all of these solutions, they completed the build of a global consistent standard. And in doing so, they ensured that they had one program to train everybody up. It wasn't, all right, this site has to know this system, this site has to know this system. We've got to train this guy differently because he's got something we've never heard of. It was a unified rollout across all of their data centers, ensuring the same customer experience, the same user experience, and the same security across their entire enterprise. They also, in doing so, simplified the workflow for security officers. Like we talked about, it wasn't having to know disparate systems at disparate sites. If somebody was on PTO and you had to fill in for them at their site, you didn't have to learn something all new. It was native to you because it was what they knew. And so that unified solution across their ecosystem really helped to build out a compliant but standard response, a standard system and workflow for those officers where they became experts in the technology. And as a result, using visitor management, were able to provide that seamless customer experience. And that flows right into the improved check-in and overall experience. They were able to utilize visitor management, utilize identity management to ensure seamless access to sites, to make sure that nobody had issues where they were supposed to get in, when they were supposed to get in, how they were supposed to be able to get in. And ultimately, they saw a very, very happy customer base within their data centers and a much happier workforce because I think we're all happier when we're not dealing with complaints on a day to day basis. And they also made themselves future ready. The technology, and this is something we haven't talked a lot about today, but both AMAG and Salient put pride in future proofing their products, not only in being able to scale with you globally, but being able to add new technologies as they come online into your solution suite by laying the foundation in today's technology for that future development. And so this large global data center is set up to move to wallet credentials whenever they feel the need to do so, whenever that meets their timeline, because they've had this future-proofed solution in place for years. That's going to be an easy lift to get whatever new emerging or rising technologies they need. And so as you look at this global data center, it's a true testament to the power of the AMAG and Salient relationship, the power that a unified solution can bring in mitigating risk, increasing compliance, and decreasing the total cost of ownership because you're eliminating those manual processes, you're eliminating the risk of failure, and you're standardizing so that everybody across your enterprise knows exactly what to do at any given time. And Paul, I'll throw it back over to you here.
Yeah, appreciate it. I'll give another example here, but I would just say generally one of the things that I enjoy about our partnership is, I don't think either of our organizations started out with the objective of being the data center specific provider, but one of the benefits of working together and developing our systems in line with one another is that we got a little bit of a foothold in this space, and we've learned from our customers and integrated a lot of the feedback that they have about the stuff that they need and want into the future of our products together. And I think that leads to not only happy existing customers, but an opportunity for us to speak the language and direct our product towards what they want. But I'll give the specific example of Digital Realty. They operate 160 plus disparate global data centers, and they were dealing with a common challenge with legacy VMS systems from acquisitions and kind of a hodgepodge of technology. And I think not only did they need kind of a bridge to bring over as much as they possibly could to a kind of a universal ecosystem, they also had the need to integrate and pull in biometric security. They had some exhaustive requirements requirements on the video retention side of things. And then they wanted to be able to automate all the audit stuff that was inevitably going to be necessary to occur. So much the same as the prior example, they implemented a joint solution of AMAG and Salient. So symmetry access control, our complete view VMS, and then ultimately they paired it up with a ServiceNow integration as well. And I think ultimately, if we're focusing on what was the result of investing in these technologies and what did we walk away from this, I think the customer, especially Digital Realty in this case, can look at it and say they've centralized oversight, they've automated all access requests, and one thing that we were able to tie a number to is seeing in their systems by 12%, which is substantial. They were able to meet complex retention requirements for 93 days for general video, and then I believe it's up to 2 years for specific environments and specific cases. So kind of having systems that can get you to not only the minimum threshold, but allow you the nuance to kind of take it above and beyond. Because something that you said earlier really resonated with me about the compliance side of things, where I think previously compliance was seen as maybe a bit of a nuisance or an obligation. I don't know if that's the best word for it, but it is the total differentiator. People aren't just focused on the fines that might come if they fall short of those compliance requirements. They really put themselves in a poor position to retain and capture new customers, because the customers that they're hosting within their colos, they care about the security side of things, and they have a lot of due diligence that goes into evaluating what their options are. So having technologies that work together and cooperate to check those boxes, it's no longer just all right, we took care of that, let's move on. It's part of the pitch of a Digital Realty or of others within this space. So it's just a really good example of how integration leads to not only the smarter operations, but really measurable outcomes at scale. So, yeah, we'll progress over. I know we're trying to be cognizant of everybody's time today. We appreciate the level of attendance that we've got, but I'm going to jump into the Q&A section and dive into some of the questions that we see here. I know people were having a little bit of struggles throughout with maybe seeing some of the content. It looks like most everybody was able to log out and log in as many times as necessary to be able to see it. But we'll dive into a couple of these questions. The first one is, we're still running some older VMS platforms from past acquisitions. How hard is it to transition those into a unified system like this? That's a great question. We hear this frequently, not only in the data center space, but just generally. I would say from the Salient perspective, we're open platform, and really it's meant for that type of situation. Can pull in cameras and infrastructure from older systems. We want to be able to retain as much of the prior investment that actually occurred, especially if the cameras that are there are of high quality and still have some good years of life ahead of them. But at the same time, you want to be able to standardize, across sites without needing to rip and replace everything that's already there. We've done this successfully for years. For a long time, our pitch on our website was the transition leader, and it was really centered around analog to IP transitions. But now, we see it much more in terms of how many of these different sensors, cameras, etc., can we incorporate into your head-end platform? And the example, or the answer to that, is as many as you possibly can. That's really our strength. JD, I don't know if you want to take one.
Yeah, I'm seeing one right here. How does the solution handle privileged user access and enforced least privilege for administrative accounts? So there's a couple of ways I'm going to approach this question. The first is the user accounts side of things. So if you look at both AMAG and Salient, they're both permissions-based systems. So every module within the software, a lot of the clicks within those modules are permissions based. So you can make sure that people only have access to the site that they need to see, to the facility they need to see, or just the aspect of the system they need to see. So some people may just need live video and export on the video side. On the access control side, somebody might just be doing card holder administration or alarm monitoring. And so you can make sure that they don't have more access than what they need, because the more that you give people, the more risk you open yourself up to with them playing around in an area that they may not be familiar in, they may not have a lot to do with, and trying to make changes in it. So that's how we manage the user access side of the systems. As you look at least privileged access on the access control side, we manage that through Symmetry Connect, our identity management platform, and it's part of that cardholder lifecycle. So within the cardholder lifecycle, you've got three phases: onboarding, change requests, and offboarding. Onboarding is where we really manage the least privilege access side of things. So when you come into an organization, a lot of times if you have a manual process, not only are you doing duplicate information enrollment with HR entering the person's information and the security team entering the exact same information into the access control system, but you're also leaving a lot up to chance, because I've been in the situation, I'm sure a lot of you have too, where the person doing the badge and card administration looks at you and says, "What doors do you need access to?" You're brand new to the facility. You don't know. And you just say every door you can think of that you may ever need to go through, and they give it to you. And that opens you up to a lot of risk. So within Connect, our identity management platform, least privileged access is baked in to that onboarding process. So based on your facility, your location, your job function, title, or manager, we can have you automatically set up with the group of doors that correspond to where you'll need to interact with in the facility. And that's the easiest and most secure way to manage least privileged access for cardholders as you bring them on board. You can continue to do that through the change request process as well. As cardholders get more ingrained, they inevitably need more access, and they can make requests. You can have everything audited there in the system: every request that was made, who made it, when it was made, why it was made, and who approved it or denied it. So that way it's a simple audit process, and you make sure people don't have access to more than they need. Paul, I'll throw it back over to you for another one.
Sure. I'm going to knock out two because one's really quick. Meyer, the failover is N+1. Absolutely. There was another one about Federation. It's Chris Dowling. Federation is that the cloud solution that Salient and AMAG are moving to. It's not. Those are two distinct items. So the cloud solution is kind of a separate discussion, and probably something that we would tackle as follow up with you. Federation, if I was going to kind of put it as succinctly as a salesperson possibly can, really that's about maintaining centralized oversight. And it really is providing balance. You can push policies and monitor globally while letting the local teams kind of view footage, manage incidents, operate autonomously. So it's oversight without micromanagement. The cloud solution is a different beast. That's really about providing secure cloud access to your base system. So that's more how am I actually getting into the system whenever I'm sitting on the beach in Hawaii. And Federation is more about day-to-day functionality for the local users while having the overarching programming defined by corporate headquarters. JD?
Awesome. I'm seeing my favorite question related to this topic in the chat right now, so I'm going to jump on that one. And that's Ruben's question around what are the required licenses to tie in Salient with AMAG or backend requirements to fully integrate? So this is the easiest question to answer in the world for me. It's a camera integration license that's completely free of charge. We take pride in that bidirectional integration and the value that it provides to end users. And we want to make sure that it's a feature that they get as part of the unified ecosystem. And so the only required licenses are a camera integration license. You've got to make sure you have that plugged into your access control system, but then you are up and running with a truly bidirectional integrated access control and video management solution with AMAG and Salient.
That was going to be the next question that I answered. That's my favorite one too. So we'll find two others, and then we'll again finish up today. One of the things I failed to mention is if we don't get directly to the question that you ask, we'll be sure to follow up, and we'll open the chat up to stay open for a minute or two to be able to take all of your questions. But one of them was, we deal with a lot of false alarms. Are there tools built into the system to cut down on those? That might have come in advance of my response relative to digital realty. I think they're a really good example of that. The reduction of 12% drop in false alarms is a pretty evident example. But you can link access to or I'm sorry, you can link access events to video. So you got that verification capability. You can set alert thresholds, and you can even automate responses to filter out kind of non-critical triggers. So really powerful tools that, when combined, can make it so that the users of the system concentrate on the key things, and they're not distracted by the inevitable riffraff that might come through. JD, you want to take one more?
Yep, I'm seeing a great question here in the chat from Chuck, and that is, what role does Connect play in the overall process? So I'm going to do my best Jeff LeBlanc impersonation for anybody that knows him here at AMAG. Connect is your ultimate time saver on the access control side of things. So what Connect is it's a physical identity and access management system that does 6 core tasks that can be defined by 2 major buckets. That's the cardholder lifecycle and the automation around it, and the automation around audits and reporting. And so within the cardholder lifecycle, Connect is your sole source for onboarding, offboarding, and change requests based on information flowing from your most authoritative data source, or HR system, down into your access control system, as well as the ability to make changes and offboard that cardholder when their time comes to leave the organization or leave the facility and they're terminated in the HR system. It also enhances your ability to quickly and efficiently run reports, do recertification, and do audits to make sure the people that still have access to certain areas should have access to those areas, that they're using that access, that you know who has access, why they have access, and who approved it. So Connect is one of my favorite things to talk about here at AMAG, aside from the integration with Salient, because it is one of the biggest time savers, just like the bidirectional integration between the access control and video platform.
That's great. That's great. We're coming up on the time. We wanted to keep this in the 35 to 45 minute range. We're right there. So we will have to kind of conclude the Q&A session at this time. But we wanted to thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, JD, for your contributions as my I don't know if you're peanut butter or you're jelly, but whichever way we want to do it. I think what we've tried to demonstrate today is that compliance and resilience are not just kind of technical goals. They're strategic imperatives for data center operators. And, the Salient and AMAG partnership is designed to bring simplicity, security, scalability to your environment, so your teams can focus on running the business and not babysitting a security stack all day. So we'd love to continue the conversation, whether that's exploring a demo, sharing more case studies, or discussing specific unique challenges for your organization. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Expect that we will be reaching out, and we really appreciate the time. We'll be talking again soon. Thank you, everybody.